You are listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live. Hello, welcome back to the Claret and Blue podcast. My name's Dan Rolinson and I'm reunited with Mat Kendrick. Matt, how are you, mate? It's been a while.
It has. I've just been thinking when the last time I saw you. It's probably the last time I saw you was the last time we lost to one of the greedy six, wasn't it? Which was a couple of weeks ago now. So yeah, we're going to be kicked. We're going to be chased out of town like those, aren't we? If we keep being these jinxes with these results. But yeah, nice to see you, mate. It's good to see your friendly face.
Yeah, good to see your big bald head. Just before we started this, we'll talk about the Super League. We'll brush over a little bit. First 30 seconds, you mentioned the greedy six. So I'm sure that'll it's still the talking point, isn't it? So we'll touch on it at some point. Obviously, we've played Man City tonight as well. 2-1 in the end, which on the face of it seems a decent-ish result. A loss is never a good result, but you expect to get battered when you play someone as good as Man City. But Villa aren't really ever in that game, are they, really? Or am I
they're winning it after 20 seconds, mate. So
yeah,
I think...
Oh, yeah. All right. Regardless of the first 20 seconds where we were actually winning against all the odds, after that, Man City turned it on. Their passes were way more than ours. Possession was more than ours. And you just thought it's inevitable they'll win at some point.
Yeah, it's one of those. You know, I've seen us lose to Man City. The last football match I actually saw in the flesh, I saw us lose to Man City, and I was a lot more gutted on that evening that I am now. That's not to say that I take Villa defeats kind of lightly, but they're so good, aren't they? You know, they're just so good. And you know, I half joked when we scored that goal after 20 seconds that, or 21 seconds. Was it 21 seconds? Because I think Kelly Thingy did a So Solid Crew joke at half time.
Really? I put 20. I actually wrote down a couple of notes. I put 20, so my notes are wrong already.
Well, maybe she just made that up just to kind of crow. I mean, who would do that? Who would make things up to crowbar in terrible puns? I don't know.
Nice.
But in terms of, yeah, I joked that Villa were getting their consolation goal in early. And it kind of proved to be that in the end, because you know most teams that were going for the, well, I say most teams going for the title. There's not most teams who can go for the title, but if you're going for the title and you concede after 21 seconds, you're probably going to get a little bit nervous normally. But Man City were like, don't worry about it. You know, it just means that we've got kind of 89 and a half minutes to swat you away. So didn't panic at all, did they? And just did what they needed to do. You know, I think the frustrating thing from my point of view was that, particularly the second goal, which is ultimately the winning goal, didn't really have to work hard for it, did they? You know, the kind of team who can cut you open at will, they can be really incisive, drag your players all over the pitch till they find that space to inflict the killer blow. Didn't need to do that. It was a rare mistake from Martinez, leaving his line for a ball that he just didn't come to get. Wasn't enough pace on it. And then Tyrone Mings as well. Tyrone Mings and Matty Target. Rodri's managed to disappear between the two of them. You know, it's Mings' man, isn't it? Really, he should be marking. Should be touch tight there, and wasn't. And Man City have beaten you with a goal that a lot of Premier League teams are capable of, rather than a Man City goal. Now, the first goal was a Man City goal, wasn't it? It was, you know, Foden is so, I don't want this to turn into a Phil Foden loving, but in the absence of Jack Grealish, we might as well praise another generational talent. To leave him that much space, not once but twice, you know, first of all on the edge of the box to really kind of get the move up and running, and then not to track his run as he drifts into the box. It was brilliant. It was brilliant football from Man City. So I don't want to dig out Villa too much over it, but you know, you've got defensive midfielders in there with Luiz, and probably Nakamba perhaps should have been closer to Foden for the goal. But they do that to you, don't they? They do that. Should we talk about Villa a little bit anyway? Do you want what did you make of the opening goal? Probably still, you know, back in the olden days when we were still inside football matches, probably still been going for a wee, or you know, finishing off your pint or your pie, wouldn't you? When that went in, I think I'd just about parked my backside on the settee in time for it to happen. But I think I was expecting it even less than the Man City defence.
Yeah, I'd obviously I do all the social media updates for the Facebook page, and I don't usually do like a Villa underway at Villa Park when it kicks off, because bit of a pointless post. We all know the game's kicked off, but it's one of those ones that all the clubs will have posted. We're underway at Villa Park, and before you finish sending tweet on the first one, you've got to write out a goal update as well. Good little move, wasn't it? Quick free kick, good thinking from Tyrone Mings. As soon as he jogs up to quickly take it, McGinn's darting straight forward, and good ball in from Watkins, and a nice finish. And yeah, you think, oh, brilliant! What a start! Here we go. Maybe this is the day that Man City's run comes to an end. They flash something up of a winning 16 away games in a row, whatever it is, and you think, well, that's got to come to an end at some point. Maybe it's today. And like you said, Phil Foden gets his magic boots on, and he scores his goal, and you think, oh, okay, here we go, classic Villa. We're jumping ahead a bit, but Matty Cash gets sent off for a second yellow, and you think, oh, we've blown it now. And there's a few comments in saying that he's an idiot or worse words than that. Can you blame it all on Matty Cash getting sent off though? Were Villa going to get back into it? 11 versus 10, sorry.
Before we get to that, can you just reminded me of a real bugbear of mine? Underway. Why do people? Who else outside of football journalists uses the phrase underway in any other context in life?
Yeah.
You don't.
What's the alternative though?
Yeah, but you don't. He's kicking off or about to start. You don't sit down for your lunch and think, "Oh yeah, I've got my sandwiches and my crisps underway." Do you? It just annoys me. I just think, what, can you think of an? I don't know whether put in the comments probably got better things to do.
Like this meeting is now underway. Like this government meeting is underway. Does that count?
I don't know. I've never been to a government meeting. What we're talking about, just on that goal after the game was underway. It was. I thought it was great. I thought it was great, quick thinking from Villa. You know, you might have expected them to just almost they weren't going to see much of the ball to try and have that opportunity to kind of just get a foot
calm the game down. 20 seconds in.
Well, yeah, it was. We dig out Tyrone Mings for the defensive laps, don't we? But that's something that Villa have clearly been encouraged to do. The way that Matty Target just had the ball dead, stopped the ball dead for him quickly, so that Mings, and it was a sweet little ball down the flank, to be honest. Reminded me of Steve Staunton's left peg in his prime, but it wasn't to be. And fast forwarding, you were talking about the Matty Cash situation. Should we go back and talk about the John Stones sending off? Really, because
we're a bit all over the place here. I wrote down the main events of what's happened. I've got early goal, Foden's too good, easy Rodri goal, and then Stones red. So we'll jump about a little bit. We'll go to that Stones red. I saw someone say that he's Man City's Tyrone Mings, that he's a good little player, does a lot of good things, and then he'll do something stupid. I thought, oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I suppose it's footballing centre half, so isn't it? If you want your centre half to, but having said that, the John Stones sending off wasn't as a result of him trying to be a footballing centre half like Beckenbauer, and the Tyrone Mings lapse for the second goal wasn't a result of him overplaying either. But I've just dug out Kelly Cates for crowbar in a pun. Did you see my pun for John Stones sending off?
Kicks and stones may break my bones, is it? It's all right.
That, isn't it?
It's not bad, yeah. I was trying to think of some kind of joke about Man City's hopes of the European Super League being over quicker than Villa's opening goal, or some kind of correlation about those two being very quick, but I couldn't work it out in my head.
Well, I got another one, but I don't know whether you're too young to get the reference, because we've got what's gone on with it this week. Money Talks, Dirty Cash, I Want You, Dirty Cash, I Need You. Are you familiar with that song?
It rings a bell.
Anyway, John Stones sending off. It was a definite sending off.
Well, you say that. Sandy Jim, I don't know who they support, said I don't think it was a red, but yeah, I was.
I've changed my mind. Sorry, no, it was. I thought it was a definite sending off. It was reckless. It was needless. It was in that kind of area that is too high to be a yellow in terms of the part of the leg that he went for. I don't think he went for the leg, but you know what I mean. And sorry, I do want to stick to the script tonight. I don't want to go too nonsense too early. But do you think that referee Peter Banks looks a bit like Ronnie O'Sullivan?
He does a little bit, yeah. Yeah, that's a good shout.
I thought he reminded me of somebody, and I couldn't quite picture it. And I thought, is he enough Ronnie to be? I don't know.
Only a little bit. Only a little bit. Is it the nose? Is it the big nose? I've had O'Sullivan shouts before because of the nose. He's got a big nose, hasn't he, O'Sullivan?
I'm not sure what it was. He just reminded me a bit of Ronnie O'Sullivan. Anyway,
Speaking of, actually, just while we're on the referee and all that, that was a good use of VAR. I mean, at the moment, VAR isn't the bad boy of football with the ESL stuff, all these acronyms, hard to keep track of. So that was a good use of it. He's given a yellow. We were looking at it thinking, oh, that was probably a red. They tell him, you need to look at that again. He goes over, watches it once or twice and upgrades it to a yellow or to a red. I like that in like the process of that, of how they've got to show it, they've got to get the yellow card out and go, like, no yellow, and then get the red out like this little pantomime. I think that's weird. I can't just be normal and just go over and go, oh, it's a red card, mate, here you go. So they got this little script first. But that's VAR working how it should, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it helps that it was a decision that, I say, benefited us. It probably didn't benefit us that much in the end, because we'll come to it being levelled up in terms of numbers soon enough. But yeah, you're right. I like the idea of the referee on the pitch still being the one who makes the ultimate call on things. So, I think we've had this brought in this season, haven't we, where the referee's actually gone and been able to see the replays that his colleagues in Stockley Park are seeing. I think it was an example where the process worked and where I think the correct decision was made. It was quite amusing back then as well to see Guardiola doing his nut as well and kind of aiming kind of fake kicks at nobody in particular. So that did amuse me greatly. But the smile was wiped off my face when I realised that we weren't going to get anything out of the match anyway. So you have the last laugh this time, Pep.
There's a few people actually in the comments saying, like, why is he going so mental, Guardiola? And I said the same on Twitter. Dean Smith gets banned for asking the ref whether he's got juggling balls for Christmas that was in the opposite fixture, wasn't it? That was against Man City. Then Pep Guardiola is allowed to run into the Villa dugout and start ranting off to whoever was down there and having to go at the fourth official and stuff. And that was all right, and he's allowed to get away with that. So that's annoying for a start. But also, as it happened in real time, they showed it on VAR and you watch the loop over and over. As soon as Stones makes contact with him, you see Pep put his hands on his head. Like he knows it was a bad tackle. And then after that, when it's given as a red, he's ranting and raving as if it was never even a foul. So I know that's just football management and they're defending their side and their player and all the rest of it, but it makes him look an idiot.
Yeah, it was. I did actually think that it's not. I'm not sure that I even then thought that Villa would go on to draw or even win, but I did think that would at least stop us getting a 6-1 battering. Like last season at Villa Park. Was that last season? He feels like years ago.
It does.
Was it last season? It was, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
So I actually thought at the start of the second half, because Smith gets criticised a lot for not being proactive enough with his substitutions and waiting until it's too late and then making the same old. I actually thought him bringing on another centre forward, knowing that Man City were, a central defender down, I thought he was proactive, and I thought he was trying to kind of force the issue a little bit, and maybe it would have paid off over time. I don't think Kieran Davis did particularly, didn't have a Fulham-like impact anyway, which is the Kieran Davis we've come to know and love and tolerate and be frustrated by. I suppose that we know that he's capable of bits of magic, but sustaining that over any period of time is difficult, which, to be fair to the lad, if you're not going to get a look in the week after you have shone, then it's hard to switch it back on and off, I think. But yeah, so I thought Smith was proactive with that first substitution. But then, did they say it was 13 minutes? I think the commentary said it was 13 minutes where Villa had that man advantage before Cash goes and evens it up again. I mean, what did... I don't want to be too harsh. I don't want to dig him out, because he's been brilliant the way he's stepped up, and I think he still is raw in Premier League terms, and he's still got a lot to learn. And if anybody's going to do you and tempt you into a kind of a rash, a Matty Rash tackle, it's going to be Phil Foden. So he was stupid. He was naive. He should have done better. He probably, with that moment, or with those two quick-fire moments, he cost Villa's chances of getting anything out of the game. Am I convinced that Villa would have taken anything out of the game anyway? Not particularly. And I hate it when I start asking myself questions like that.
You got to refer to yourself in the third person next. Yeah, I don't think Villa get anything out of that game, even with the man advantage. We're rubbish with the man advantage traditionally anyway, so I don't think that even makes much difference. And it's still against Man City, and I still feel like they were probably only in second gear for most of the game anyway. Yeah, it was stupid. It's stupid to get sent off, and the more annoying thing is that gives us a selection headache for West Brom, doesn't it? People saying play Kessler at right back rather than Elmo, but it's still neither of them are going to be as good as Matty Cash in a game that's probably going to be quite difficult. And we'll get onto Albion a little bit later, but that's no Grealish again, obviously, and no Cash for a derby game.
Grealish thing's interesting, isn't it? It's almost as if this kind of European Super League is just some elaborate ruse to stop us all thinking about Jack Grealish. I think Dean Smith created it all, to be honest. I think he'd run out of ways of saying that Jack will be back in the next 10 days and thought we'd have this diversionary tactic instead. But yeah, it's a frustrating, you probably expected us to lose tonight. The real kind of collateral damage from that is the fact that we're going to be a very good strong player down on I forgot when it's taking place, Sunday night, isn't it, against Albion. I'd still like to think, even with Albion's kind of ridiculous recovery in recent weeks, that I think we should, even without Jack Grealish and Matty Cash, still have enough to kind of beat Albion at Villa Park, but we will see.
There's a question from Stephen, or more of a accusation. I don't know if that's the right word. He says, please can you have an honest discussion about the central midfield? We always dig out the wingers, but Louise and McGinn don't make the bench of any of the top 6 sides. That's a problem. Is that fair? Louise and McGinn don't get in any of the top 6? And we're aiming for the top 6. I know we're not there, but we're top 10, say. Is there that much of a gap?
Of those sides...
I don't think they start for a Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, or whatever the top 6 is these days, Leicester, West Ham. I don't think McGinn and Louise start for any of those. I think they're good enough top 6 squad players, though.
I don't know. It's a really, really weird thing to look at them in that context, isn't it? Are they good enough to start for Aston Villa? Is the question, rather than are they good enough to be on the bench of the greedy 6? Not that I've got an agenda against those clubs.
In that sense, yes, they are good enough to play for Villa because there isn't any other options. I think in the summer, though, that you'd definitely be looking at improving that midfield, and probably 2 of that 3, Louise McGinn and the other being Barkley or whoever it is, 2 of that 3 probably won't be starting next season.
We've said this all along, haven't we, about kind of the evolution of Aston Villa's squad and how starters last season become... some of them become bench players this season, and starters this season. Some of them become bench players next season. No, I think it's been a disappointing season for McGinn on the whole. If I'm really honest, I think Douglas Luiz, we really expected him to kind of kick on and maintain or improve the form that he showed to kind of help rescue Villa towards the back end of last season. So, I wouldn't, again, I don't like to be in the business of writing players off too soon. Both of those players are, what now, 18 months into their Premier League careers, really, and have shown at times, maybe not consistently enough, but have shown at times that they can compete and they do belong on this stage. So, it comes down to what we've said before. It's the competitions. It's having the competition there, isn't it? The Morgan Sanson hasn't been able to come in and make that impact that we hoped he would, to either make himself a regular starter in the team or to lift the levels. And at the moment, who are they being placed under pressure by? They're being placed under pressure by a kind of teenage kid, who again is a dozen games into his Premier League career. So I don't think they've been consistent enough, either of those players that we're talking about, McGinn or Louise. But I don't think, I think where Villa are on their journey, I don't think you write players off as quickly as that.
Do you think they're playing in their best positions, those 2?
What, midfield?
Well, in their roles in midfield.
I don't know. McGinn's a really interesting kind of complex puzzle for me, because
Is he though? He
he's.
plays further forward for Scotland and scores goals and contributes. And then he plays deeper for Villa, and we think, oh, he's not the same player.
But I don't know. What do we think McGinn's greatest asset is? His tenacity, his engine, his energy. I mean, to me, I don't think he's had quite the energy. I'm not privy to his kind of running stats and distance he's covered, but I don't think he's had the kind of zip that he's had previously. And whether that's a result of the injury that he suffered, whatever year it was, Christmas time 2019, potentially. But I don't know. I know that's a crap answer, but I'm not sure what it is that's missing from him at the moment.
Do you remember, it doesn't seem long ago, the McGinn we're talking about is getting linked to Man United, and we're all saying 50, 60 million for John McGinn, and what a great player is, and the step up, the step up from the Championship to the Premier League, he still looks like he can do it in this league, and now a year later he's written off to not even be good enough for Villa in 10th or 11th or wherever we are. Like, it seems weird to think of an Aston Villa side without John McGinn, because he's came through in this kind of Dean Smith resurgence and been so integral to it. But I guess that's just players out of form that don't deserve to be in the squad, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, if memory serves me correctly, and I'm going back a while, but John McGinn was one of the best Aston Villa players, wasn't he, in the opening weeks of last season?
Yeah.
I think he then began to fade even before the injury came along. But
again, Mings, McGinn, and Grealish were our best three players, weren't they, last season? I think. I mean, last season, it's weird, isn't it? We always say don't go back in time and stuff, because what's the point comparing to last season? But it's weird to see the drop off with McGinn. That 1 minute, like I say, he's the next coming of whoever, and he's worth however much, and the big clubs want him, and then a year later he's not even good enough for Villa anymore. But if that's just the way it is to progress as a squad, and that John McGinn is the one to be replaced in the summer, then so be it, I guess. But I don't know. I still think he's got a part to play.
Equally, Dan, if he can go from, in the space of 12 months, if he can go from being linked with a £60 million or whatever it was, move to Manchester United, who's to say he can't swing back the other way?
Yeah.
He's a dedicated, devoted young player. He's shown how hungry he can be, and how much he wants to succeed. Who's to say he can't kind of find his form? Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it is a positional change. Maybe if he plays further up the pitch with more freedom, then he perhaps could do that. But I think he's probably had a little bit more license to do that recently than he had done previously. Anyway, since Jack's been out of the team, and Villa haven't really got going as a forward cohesive unit. But he's an interesting one. I certainly wouldn't give up on John McGinn. I'm perhaps think a bit too fondly of him, because I'm quite a big fan of his Twitter game, to be honest. But yeah, I admit that we want our footballers to perform on the pitch rather than on social media.
He's definitely better when he's further forward, and he's definitely better when Jack Grealish is in the side, which goes without saying, even though I've said it. When we're assessing that midfield, though, and why it's not working, I don't think John McGinn is the number one priority of problems that need to be fixed. If you're ranking the midfielders, who's the best? Take Jack Grealish out of the equation. Who's Villa's second best midfielder?
Depends, doesn't it? Depends what week you want to ask me. We had
and that's the problem.
We had a while when we were saying, why's Marvellous Nakamba not in the team? He's come in, he's played well when he started here and there. Why is he not in the team? Then he comes in the team or gets a couple of games in the team and then just fades again. It's almost as if, we used to say it was kind of Harrahurst syndrome, didn't we? Yeah. When first came back, he used to do well and then faded a little bit. That seems to be a curse that's catching this season, that none of those midfielders can string a concerted run of form together.
Talk about Ross Barkley very quickly. That was a weird sub, wasn't it?
Do you remember probably 6 weeks, 2 months ago, when Ross Barkley was throwing hissy fits because he was being taken off 20 minutes from the end of games? And now there's not even an eyebrow raised when he can't get in a team, ahead of Marvellous Nakamba, ahead of Jacob Ramsey. And, how the mighty have fallen, and I think the guy is just bereft of confidence now.
Yeah.
I think it's almost the purpose of this move from Ross Parker's point of view. I think although we're talking him up massively, on the back of the Liverpool game and the Arsenal game earlier in the season, the purpose of that move was for him to restore confidence, I think, and restore some value from Chelsea's point of view. I bet they wish they could have got Villa to make a deal permanent back in, September or whenever it was, because, he's probably, his stock has probably fallen now to where it was when he was a kind of not an outcast, but a fringe player at Chelsea, really. So I don't know. We don't expect, do we? We used to expect when Barkley was around. We don't expect, and he doesn't disappoint us in that sense because he doesn't deliver.
Let's just quickly, what is it, Wednesday, something of April. I'm not looking about the transfer window opening yet. We're still a couple of months away and 7 or 8 games, whatever it is left for the season. What do Villa need to do? How big does the window need to be to make that step up? We're not going to get into Europe this year unless 6 clubs are deducted points or whatever, which we'll come on to briefly at the end, which is not going to happen. So Villa aren't going to make it into Europe this year, barring a miracle. So what do they need to do next year to bridge that gap?
I think it's similar to what they did last summer, really. I thought that a sign of Villa progressing would be how many did we bring in? Six last summer, I think, 6 or 7. I hope that we wouldn't need to have that amount of new players. But I think we might have to be honest, because I think we're going to need more central forward options. We're going to need 1 winger, possibly 2. We're going to need, I still think we need another central defender, if I'm being honest. So to make sure that there is pressure on the places of Konsa and Mings. How many have I talked there? I've talked about 4 or 5 players there. We probably are going to need more reinforcements in the fullback areas, because Neil Taylor and Elmo, who have been the kind of go-to guys for a variety of managers, are not going to be at the club any longer beyond the summer. So it probably is going to be that, which again, it's if Villa are spending the same kind of sum, if you're spending it on 3 players, you can really raise the quality. If you're spending it on 6 players, do you know what I mean? You can only kind of make those kind of incremental improvements, really.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested. I don't know what people are saying in the comments. I don't know how much surgery our fellow fans think that we need.
Most people agree. Kind of 5 or 6 players is what we need, and that is improving the first 11 is the target rather than just building a bigger squad. Leighton says, would you do sell a Platt to build a team? And I assume he means selling somebody like a Jack Grealish for big money and reinvesting that money straight back into the squad. First of all, do we even need to do that financially, or can the owners just go, "Oh, here's 100 million, and we do what we want"? And second, is that something you'd consider, selling a big name to raise extra funds?
I don't know, really. I mean, I'd do absolutely everything that we could. Who would you really sell that's going to give you that extra amount of funds? I mean, what do we think that Jack Grealish is off limits? I don't want to sell him. I want to kind of, I want to preserve him. I want to kind of stick him in a glass cabinet and be on display. If he's not going to play, we might as well stick him in there. Be on display at Villa Park forevermore, to be honest. So I wouldn't sell Jack Grealish to finance anything.
Agreed. So let's say, let's give you a scenario then. Let's say Liverpool come in for Ezri Konsa and say 75 million, which is, I don't think he's worth that amount, but let's say we need a centre-back, he's 75 million. Do you sell Ezri Konsa for 75 million to help build a squad? Or do you think Ezri Konsa is integral to Villa's squad? We've got enough money that we can turn that down.
It's really interesting that, because the old-fashioned me, which is all of me, thinks, bloody hell, 75 million quid for a centre-half. Yeah, definitely, we'd do that. But you had to pick the other one, didn't you? You had to pick the other one. Couldn't you pick somebody else? I do think Ezri Konsa is integral to what we want to do. So I wouldn't know. I'd stick him in this cabinet with Jack.
Next one. Emi Martinez, he was linked with Man United in some newspaper somewhere.
Can't you pick some of the crap ones?
Well, they're not going to raise the funds, are they? This is the point. Man United say here's 80 million for Emi Martinez. We need to replace De Gea. What do you do then? He's on course to break. Well, he probably won't break if he does a clean sheet record the way the rest of the second half of the season's gone. But again, another one. Sell your goalkeeper. He's only been here a season. Massive profit. Use that 60 million, 70 million to push on to the top four. Sounds good, doesn't it?
No, I don't like the theory of this at all. I'd rather keep get lost later, and I don't want to do a plat and rebuild the team. I want to keep our best players. You know, it's kind of saying
it's two steps back to take one step forward, isn't it? Because selling or whatever the phrase is, selling Martinez, you're going to have to replace him first. If you're going to attract a goalkeeper of that quality, that's going to take up a large percentage of your budget anyway. So you're having to replace people that you've sold to help build a squad, and then you're not making any progress. You need to keep what you've got first and add to it, not take some away.
It's like saying I'm gonna sell my car so I can buy a caravan. Oh God, how am I going to move that caravan? Do you know what I mean? You're creating problems for yourself further down the line, aren't you? So no, I wouldn't. In answer to your question later,
rubbish question later. Well, that's a talking point. So, but I think the thing that probably outweighs that is the FFP things changing. I think, and our owners are loaded, so Villa don't need to sell, so we can even keep the squad and invest. Is the perfect scenario, isn't it?
Christ knows what the rules around football are going to look like by the start of next season. Probably exactly the bloody same, to be honest, aren't they? Because we're probably going to miss a trick to revolutionise and reframe football the way that we should. But what was the question, Dan? What did you say? I've lost track. I'm having a senior moment.
Let's talk about the European Super League then, because you and Ash did the podcast on Monday, and it was all doom and gloom. So the day it happened was Sunday, wasn't it, when it was first announced? Late. I know you've already talked about this, so people that watched the last podcast, you're going to repeat yourself, but I haven't had a chance to talk about it. So just quick recap before we get out of this podcast. I went to bed at 11ish, I think, on Sunday, and it was all nothing. And I woke up and I'm seeing tweets of this club's done this statement's coming out, blah, 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 football as we know it is changing forever. And I was scrolling through it and I was like, am I in a weird dream? Have I woken up and eaten cheese or something last night? It didn't seem real. It was very surreal, the whole thing, that football could change in such a manner. It's literally overnight that a couple of clubs can pick up their ball and go somewhere else and say, oh, we're not playing with you anymore. We're going to do our own thing. That's mental that's allowed to happen for a start. No, it's not been allowed to happen. But you and Ash talked about it Monday, and what are the repercussions of the greedy six, or whatever word you want to call them. Then they all start to pull out one by one and say, oh, actually, we're sorry about that. We didn't quite think we'd get the reaction that we did. Sorry, it's our bad. Back to how it all was. Let's pretend that never happened. That also can't be allowed to stand, can it? Because surely clubs can't just pick up and say, oh, we don't want to be with you anymore and leave. That has to be punished to stop them from doing it again.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's from the GCSE project kind of design work and logo that they've come up with to the actual kind of shameless climb downs, and I actually found it hilarious last night. Some of the ways that the Chelsea one made me laugh when they said, what was it? Oh, we only joined this late last week, so that's why we didn't have a chance to think it through. Oh yeah,
rubbish.
You wouldn't think it through, would you? You know, why would you?
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Let's just join this like a holiday. Oh yeah, let's just pop over.
But there's something more to this. It's sinister enough, but there's something more to this, because that backlash hasn't come as any kind of surprise. You know, as much as I do think the kind of the fans' revolt has been really important, and I think a few people have said that it's united a broken country more than any topic, you know, over the last 3 or 4 years. But there's more to it than that. These people don't become, well, some of them do. Some of them, it's kind of inherit millions through family connections, but they don't become billionaires by being that naive and stupid. So what's the real reason? The real reason for this climb down. I'd like to think that it's the government stance, it's their rival stance with the 14 clubs who have come out and spoken and collectively spoken very strongly about it. I'd like to think that UEFA, the Premier League, FIFA, the FA have flexed their muscles a little bit. I don't know. They haven't before. So why now? But there's something more than just bad PR. There must be.
The bit I don't understand about it is that, so you got Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham. Tottenham, first of all, I know this is old ground. It was only a few days ago. Tottenham being a leading European giant or whatever the phrases were for all these clubs. Do me a favour. And somebody else I can't even remember. Man City, Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham. Yeah, there's 6 from England. How do they even get to the point of bypassing the Premier League? I can't think of an analogy, and you might be able to think of one better than me, but the Premier League they don't own those clubs, but they're part of the Premier League. So how do they get to bypass them and say, oh no, we're going to go somewhere else? Surely do you know what I mean? Is that like me booking a holiday off work past you, like bypassing your boss? Surely the Premier League make the decision of what those clubs have to get up to. You can't go around them and say, oh, we're going to do our own thing. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's, again, you forgive me for a really, really crap forced analogy, but it's like, you know, on the chase, the chasers.
Yeah.
It's like them saying, listen, we're not going to commit to a show every night anymore, but we'll pop in, once a month or a couple of times a month, but we're running a pub quiz down the road now, and we're getting paid more. And we're gonna live stream that on Facebook Live. Doing that, you're thinking, well, hang on. And you got your commitments over here, and it's
I love that the Premier League is now the chase.
You made me laugh the other day, which is a rare occurrence. With I think you were saying like the Zoom meetings that are run by Jackie Weaver. These kind of big meetings, but they're just the absolute kind of shameless stance of all of them. It's
arrogance, isn't it? But then that's the problem.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious seeing them drag through the mud, but it's not enough. In no way is it enough of a punishment.
Do you? Again, I know you and Ash have spoken about this, and I've not listened to it all. How do you feel about? We'll talk about Villa in a second. I don't want this to go on for too long, but how do you feel about the fans of the other clubs? Because it seems like all the fans were against it. Because if this was Villa doing it, and Villa were one of the 6, some people have said like our owners would never, and Christian Perzo spoke well about it. I'm sure if Villa were offered it and Villa were in this position, I think they'd do it. I think any owner who's in it for money. Now, our owners aren't in it for money, but they're businessmen. It's a big money-making opportunity. I think every club offered this situation takes it, apart from Bayern Munich. They seem to be the exception. But traditionally, I think every club takes it because it's a massive money-making thing. It puts your name and your brand out there. I think everyone takes it. So I'm not going to sit on my high horse and go, oh, Villa are better than everyone, because I think if Villa are in that position, they'd do it as well. They'd get that out of the way first. But if it was Villa and we're Villa fans and a Villa podcast, I'd be embarrassed if Villa were a part of that. So I hope that Liverpool, Man United, etc., and all their fans are all the same. But how do you come back from that? If this was Villa and our owners and the current players and they're all for it, I'd think, oh, I don't want to be associated with Villa anymore. It feels slimy. It feels dirty. I don't want to be part of that.
I'd like to think that Villa wouldn't.
I think that
take it, but perhaps I'm being naive. I mean, I've done a U-turn probably as quickly as the greedy 6 in my stance, because I think I tweeted late last night that there should be sanctions and there should be punishment, but I'm a bit concerned. I think I put something like, should cause maximum pain or discomfort to the owners, but minimum pain to fans who are blameless. And people have rightly come back to me and said, well, how often have we seen clubs punished for, flouting spending rules, clubs going into administration, clubs going out of business? Those fans have been innocent. What's the difference? What's the difference? Why should the 6 clubs be, and the fan bases of those clubs, why should they have any special treatment? And I think that's fair. I don't think it's fair on those fans, on those legacy fans that they're being called. I don't think it's fair on the kind of match going kind of proper kind of I don't want to lay it on too thick, but you know what I'm saying. I don't think it's fair on them. But equally, I don't think the status has been these big superpowers of English football should protect them from that either.
So what do you think the punishment will be or should be? I think that's two very different things as well.
I think it's got to be something that, to me, it's twofold. I think there needs to be a punishment that is significant and substantial enough to say, listen, we've seen Project Big Picture and we've gone and chased that out and seen that off. We've seen European Super League and we've chased that off. Don't you dare come up with a third plan, because it's not happening. So what kind of punishment is going to be severe enough? It's going to have to be a points deduction, which affects their chances of getting on the Champions League gravy train. You know, for
this season or next,
in future seasons. I think I'd do it. I don't know. And it's going to be. I mean, what sanctions have you got open to you? You've got financial penalty. You've got points deductions, and you've got transfer embargoes. You know, I'm in such a mood about it. I'd impose all three, but I've got to be careful of not coming at this from a selfish Villa fan's point of view, because the more that you hinder and hamper those six, although they deserve it, I know that Villa are one of the beneficiaries who get to kind of, do you know what I mean? So I don't know how much of this is my pure kind of wanting to do right by football, and how much of this is me being a scheming Villa fan thinking, how can we?
I suppose you flip that viewpoint by, if this was Villa, what punishment would you wouldn't be happy with any punishment if this was Villa and they were saying, oh, you're going to get 20 points deducted next season? You wouldn't be happy with that. But what level of punishment would you accept as a fan to go, our owner's messed up here, we're going to have to deal with that?
I actually think, Dan, there needs to be a substantial enough punishment that the fan bases won't forget this, but they do their best to chase these people out of their clubs. And I think if nothing happens and the status quo is maintained, yes, there's going to be hostility and it won't be forgotten, and these people are going to have a stain on their names. But will life be made uncomfortable enough for them to be removed from the football club? Listen, I'm not saying that even if you try and chase an owner out of the club, it naturally happens anyway. You know, Newcastle fans have been protesting against Mike Ashley for about 4 or 5 years now, and until there's a buyer who's willing to come along and invest and pay that money for a club, it's not going to happen readily anyway. But I just think, to me, as important as the punishments, and probably even more important than the punishments, and I've said this again the other day, so I don't want to repeat it too much, is to get a independent kind of governing body that can be strong enough to stand up against this.
But isn't that supposed to be the Premier League, though? The league that
but the clubs run it themselves, don't they? They run it like a cartel themselves. So there's going to be a level of self-interest in there. Anyway, I've had enough of all that.
it is deep, isn't it? It just, I don't know, it feels like, I know you said on Twitter the other day about this needing to be like a moment to reform football and change the way things are done, and I don't see that happening either. Because you see things like transfer bans done before. Like Chelsea had a transfer ban, didn't they, for 2 or 3 windows, whatever it was, and I think when Lampard was there, and it's like, it doesn't really affect them, does it? I don't think a transfer ban is enough, because they've got such big squads anyway. They just pull back 20 players that are on loan in Germany or whatever. I don't think transfer bans are important. I don't think fines are that big because they got so much money. So, here's you trying to chase more money. We're going to fine you 50 million. Okay. We'll drop that. We'll drop more than that on goalkeepers that don't even play. Do you know what I mean? I don't think financial fines are worth it either. I think it has to be something like a points deduction. If that's for this season, for most of them, it probably won't even be worth it because it won't affect their position anyway. Take 10 points off Man City, they'll still win the league. So I don't know what enough of a punishment would be to make it worth it. Because surely the more you punish for them, the more risks you've got then of them saying, well, we don't want to be punished, so we are going to leave, and then you're back at square one then.
Like Somebody suggested on Twitter earlier that the Premier League should carry on as it is, but the 14 teams are immune from relegation. Relegation has to be fought out amongst those 6, which amused me greatly. But yeah, it's been ridiculous. Like you said, it's been so surreal. And I just hope the scorn and the shame and the humiliation is just the start of the punishment of those owners.
I think I was going to say I don't think they'll be that bothered, but you see someone like Ed Woodward at Man United who's been there through loads of rubbish over the last 10 years. All of a sudden, it's this that's made him have to step out of the firing line at the end of the season or whenever it is. So maybe it will make a difference, but you're still going to have clubs spending massive amounts of money. You're still going to have massive wage caps. I don't think this is the moment we look back on and go, "Oh, that was the day that football changed for the better and things are all rosy now." Because I don't think things will change. I don't even think that the clubs will be punished for it. I think the Premier League or whoever's involved in doing that kind of thing will be too scared to do it. Like there's talk about, if Man United leave and they all leave, it'll be that if they leave and they're kicked out of the Premier League, they'll have to come back in the 5th tier or whatever. I don't know what Man United and Liverpool and Man City down in the National League, are they? It's just it's just empty threats that will never happen and we'll never see. So they'll get away with it and give it a couple of years and they'll be going, right, well, we don't get enough money from X competition. We're going to go and do this instead. And then it'll all be blown over. Here's a new deal for you. Here's another £1 billion and rinse and repeat.
I just hope that it's a time for kind of fan activity, really. And that fan bases can work together collectively. And maybe I'm being naive about that. Maybe it'll kind of be a storm in a teacup and it'll readjust to what it was. But I think it'd be a massively missed opportunity if we let this pass without using it to bring about positive change. But hey ho, we'll see. Yeah,
people in the comments saying they've done it to Rangers, they've done it to AC Milan in Italy, which that's fair enough. It just doesn't seem like it's something that Man United and Liverpool, they just bring in so much money and so many viewers across the world. They're not going to just dump them down to League Two for the sake of joining a league that didn't even really exist and then pulling out of it 2 days later. It'll be a £50,000
they'll probably get bunged, £500 million for a Netflix documentary anyway, wouldn't they? Or Sky and BT Sports and Amazon and the AZN and would all be competing for rights for League Two, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't think this is a cycle that we ever break out from, and we're going to be here all day trying to work out how you punish these guys. I'm just glad that Villa were never involved in this, but people disagree in the comments. I still think if somebody commented on the podcast you did saying if this was 10 years ago and Villa were in and around that top 6 when O'Neill was here and we were offered this chance to get into that when Randy Lerner was still there, would Villa have taken it then? I still think Villa take it as good as our owners have been. They're billionaires for a reason. I think any billionaire offered the chance to make more.
Randy Lerner, who gave away the front of the shirts to charity. You think he'd be that money hungry?
Yeah, they're billionaires, millionaires for a reason. They make money. If someone comes to you, as much money as you've got, and they say, we can give you another 200 million per year here, you have to do nothing. Who's going to say no to that?
Hypothetical, mate. My voice went wobbly then.
It is. As we wrap up, I see what the comments say. I think every football club offered the position to go off into this league, regardless of what the ramifications are, and there's no punishment anyway. Here, we're going to give you, the owner, forget the manager and the players. Here's some money for doing nothing. You join our league, you get to play Real Madrid every week. I think everyone says yes to that, regardless of how much I love the Villa owners and everything seems to be rosy at the moment. They're billionaires. I think everyone takes it. Someone says Lerner maybe, Dr. Jar, yes. The current owners, no way. I don't know. I disagree. We'll never see it happen. We're never going to be in that position, but I still think any owner takes it. We asked on Twitter for people to reply with a GIF, and this is going to be a pointless segment for the podcast. We're not going to be able to show the GIFs anyway. But we said, if you've, how do you sum up this Super League nonsense with a GIF? And we'll give away a mug to the best one, and you've picked a winner. So do you want to?
Yeah, that's the mug. You don't have to drink no sugar Vimto out of it like me. Yeah, we said we'd give away the best one to the winner. I couldn't settle it, so I'm going to go for the best 3, but they're going to have equal place on the podium. Can you show them on here or not?
Oh, hang on a minute. Yeah, kind of, but you can waffle for a bit if you want.
The ones that I like best, there was a really good selection. We had about 400 replies, and I'm a big fan of the kind of Father Ted one, kind of down with this sort of thing. Careful now. I did enjoy that one. I'm a big fan of the kind of the Simpsons ones when Grandpa Simpson goes in and out. With the big U-turn. I like that kind of thing, and I do like the kind of David Brent ones as well. But there were three that nailed it for me. There was one that
I can show them, but I don't know which is which. So I'm going to pick Lee Johns first.
Put it up first.
Okay, hang on. Does this work? What tab am I in? Can you see that? Hang on. There we go. Oh, it's so small.
I did like the Wellston Raider one. I thought it kind of nailed the fact, kind of, you've got no fan support for this whatsoever. So that was one of them. So Lee John, we'll obviously share this on Twitter as well, and we'll get in touch with people and get me some. The good thing about it is I can dig out some bubble wrap. I do like popping bubbles on bubble wrap, so I'll get the mugs wrapped up. Yeah, go on. The next one was, I like this one because I'm probably thinking too deeply about this, but it just showed how quickly the bad guy being someone in a werewolf mask is it a werewolf mask? I think it is, isn't it? Was kind of put back in his box or back in his bin. So I like that one. That amused me quite quickly. And this other one was just its kind of simplicity, wasn't it? This is the piece of cake one, isn't it?
Yeah. Hold on. There you go.
I just thought that summed up how sly the greedy 6 or the greedy 15 have been about it, really.
Is that not like a have a cake and eat it thing as well?
Yeah, it is. It is. I just thought it was. So that's from Villa Jane as well. So yeah, I've got a box of these Claret and Blue mugs. So I'll ping 3 out.
One.
Yeah, you can have one, mate. Yeah. Your gift was quite good anyway, wasn't it? Was it some kind of? It was Jack Grealish saying,
"It's the greatest one."
Shut the F up, wasn't it?
Shut the front door. I don't know what game that was from. I love that gift though. Yeah, mine was good. Maybe we should have picked the one that had the most likes. Maybe that's how we should have done it instead of just.
Mate, I missed half the second half of the game just wading through those gifts. So that decision is fine. All those 3 people, whether they like it or not, will be getting a mug winging its way through the front door. Not through the front door. Shut the front door. No, I wanted to just. I especially prepared this bit right at the end.
It's 11:15.
I was cutting up some pizza for my daughter earlier today with one of those little roly pizza cutters, the little wheels.
Yeah.
And I asked on Twitter. Listen, he didn't really bang on Twitter, so I'm probably not going to get much response on here. But why? A, does anybody use those things to cut anything else other than pizza? And B, what's so special about pizza that it gets its own utensil? Why can't you use a knife?
I think you can use it for cutting fresh spaghetti.
Can you?
Don't know. That feels like a thing that would be a successful tool for cutting up fresh pasta if you're making pasta sheets. So also Italian like a pizza.
What I've got here is somebody says they're quite good for cutting toast if you want to do soldiers.
You could cut the crust off.
Someone says they're brilliant at slicing courgettes and cucumber. Good for cheese toasties.
Anyone for fresh pasta or?
No, but somebody says I've used it to cut up fish fingers and a sausage roll.
Surely you can cut up whatever you want with it. There's no rules here.
No, I just wondered if anybody did use them for anything else, but I can't kind of quite like. This is from Hallie Boringe Overdose, who said quiche, but that's just posh pastry pizza, really. I thought that was quite a good description of quiche. So that's all I've got. Anyway, I'm done.
Just a quick offspring of that. Not the right word. Do you ever cut up food with scissors?
Somebody replied actually that they use scissors for pizza. I sometimes cut up ham. If I'm putting ham in with some pasta, I'll cut up ham with it, and I will sometimes cut up bacon for the same purposes.
Why don't you just use a knife there?
I don't know. Hey, one more thing. Well, I know it's getting late. One more thing. Sweet potato fries, disgust. Because I used to think that I liked
disgust. 'Cause that's the right
Discuss
answer.
or disgusting. I used to think that I like them. I had them tonight. I don't like them anymore. What's the point?
Were they,
Just having them.
were they homemade ones or like from a frozen packet or?
Oh, they're probably frozen now in our house, to be honest. But even if I went to a pub now and got them with a burger or whatever, I don't think I'd like them. What's your thought?
So I think in a pub or restaurant, proper ones, like crunchy, big, chunky sweet potato fries, I would say yes to those. But I've had homemade ones before, and it's just like, you know, when you like do carrot sticks in like sticks, it's like if you do a sweet potato like that, and they're just like hard and dry, and they're horrible. If you do homemade ones in a restaurant, I think that'd be okay. That's my
Maybe it's that
synopsis.
then. Maybe it's that because I've not had them in a restaurant for ages. Maybe it's the fact that I've had them homemade that's put me off them.
But if you're gonna have chips, just have proper chips. Why have sweet potatoes?
Well, this is what I'm asking. Do they offer anything?
Sweet potatoes at all? Yeah, forget it then. Yeah, just go normal chips. I know they're healthier, but if they're deep fried anyway, just have normal chips. Difference between a sweet potato and a white potato is negligible.
How do they cut them up? Do you know?
I think there's probably some like wheelie thing, disc that cutter thing that would be great for it. Let's get out of here. I can't believe there's still so many people watching now as there was in the engaging Super League chat of 20 minutes ago. Someone did just tune in, and I think it was their first comment so far saying, God, you lot talk some waffle or something like that. I can't.
No, it's not waffle. No, we're not waffle. Sweet potato fries.
I do like waffles. Also, just quickly on waffles, you got potato waffles. You know the sweet waffles though. Have you ever had one of those from like a dessert takeaway shop?
Like kind of an American waffle with syrup and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I've had them for breakfast and went up into the States. Yeah.
Oh, nice. We had one a couple of weeks ago from a place down in Kidderminster that do them, and it was covered in like chocolate sauce and like fruit, and so good. I felt like a fat pig afterwards, but it was good for the 10 minutes or so it lasted.
I'm not a fan of bird's eye potato waffles though. I'd rather have a hash brown or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a bit American, isn't it, a potato waffle? Although they're probably English thinking about it.
Yeah, all right. Ta-ra.
All right, thanks everyone for tuning in to the Claret Blue podcast. Absolute nonsense and waffle as always. A good bit of football chat for the first 20 minutes and then descended into madness like always. We're approaching almost an hour on post-match chat, which never usually happens. We always say before we start on these, keep it about half an hour, shall we? And we end up waffling for so long that the last 10 minutes has been taken up by food talk. Just quickly on pizzas before you go. I think we've done this before. What's your topping for a pizza?
I've said it before. I've said I like Hawaiian, and you've disowned me. So
yeah, forget it. So yeah, no way pineapple on pizza. Thanks everyone who tuned in and talked all about Man City, European Super League, Aston Villa, and chips. We do appreciate your time. Thanks for sticking with us for the last hour. Thanks Matt for joining me. We'll be back on Sunday. Maybe James Rushton around as well for the Albion game. Yeah, it's been good fun. Thanks very much for tuning in. Thanks Matt, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers. Up the Villa.
Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do let us know. We love hearing your feedback. We'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, up the Villa.